Powered by Riverside FM.
All right, so for this Browns Backers interview, please help me welcome from our neighbors to the north, the president of the Ottawa Browns Backers, Kenny Mack.
Let's go Browns. That is the most psyched up that anybody's been playing or doing anything for the Browns in like 3 weeks, you know, with that effort last week. But I'll let you guys get into it.
No. We got Kenny Mack on the show, so we're excited.
We got to bring the energy.
We're excited. So, Kenny, first of all, thank you so much for joining us. How are you? How are things up north?
It's not too bad. It's getting a little cold up here. We're about 8.5 hours away from you guys, kind of diagonal north. You take Syracuse, I believe it's 81 up to Canada. And then I go about 2.5 more hours north. And that's where I am. But a bit of my story, how I became a Browns fan. I actually grew up. Now, if you go to Cleveland Stadium, okay, or Huntington Bank, let's say, and you go in a boat right at that stadium and you go due north till you hit Canada. That's where I grew up, a little village called Erie Beach. So there's a pocket of us that were out of town, so we didn't get cable. So we could get Detroit or we could get Cleveland, just depending where our rotor was, right? Well, when I moved to Erie Beach, I was about 5 years old. That was 1980. And I'll be almost 50. So I've been watching the Browns for a long time. And part of the reason I'm a Browns fan is you're not going to believe this. We had a really bad storm and our rotator got stuck. We never fixed it. It got stuck on Cleveland. So I watched Channel 3, Channel 5, Channel 8, Channel 19, Channel 43, blah, 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 blah. So I'm a fan of Cleveland sports. I've been in Canada long enough where I do cheer for the Jays and the Raptors, but I'm diehard football. So it's Buckeyes, Browns only. The only other football team I cheer for is we have a CFL team up here called the Ottawa Red Blacks. But that's how I became a fan, because they had, we also got the radio stations. Radio station that I listened to when I was young was called Power 108. I don't know. That might have been before your guys' time. But all I remember is
I just assume when people say it might have been before our time, it was probably before our time. I just assume that.
Yeah. It was kind of like a pop station or whatever, but I remember on that station when the Browns won, there was like 15 songs they would play in a row, like Bernie, Bernie, oh yeah, we're going the Super Bowl, you know, that. And then there was a t-shirt for every damn event, that anything Browns related ever. Now there still is, you know. And I just thought it was freaking cool that there was a dog pound. But what cemented it is when I was talking about the CFL earlier, my cousin played in the CFL. Okay. He was traded to the Alouettes. They folded actually the first time in 87. I think I have my timelines right here. 87 was a strike year for the NFL. And so he was a scab. If you guys don't know what a scab is, were the guys that crossed the line, or the owners hired in spite of the NFL players. And then when the players crossed the line, he was one of the only scabs that were signed to a contract, but he was a practice squatter, and he got in one legit game in 1988, spent like 2.5 years with the Browns in the practice squad. And that cemented it with Bernie, the boys, the winning, everything. And I thought, boy, it won't. With this team and the winning and Bernie, I'll always have great seasons for the rest of my life. And man, was I wrong?
That's an awesome story, Kenny. And you just that whole thing that you just told just reminded me of the plot of one of my favorite football movies, which is The Replacements.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean that's an awesome story. And the fact that you are literally a Browns fan by fate is phenomenal.
Correct.
Yeah, we were about 2.5 hour drive to Cleveland, so I was in Cleveland as a young lad. And, we could go see the Blue Jays there. We did like the Indians. They were called the Indians back then. And, so I do enjoy Cleveland. And I got a funny story about Cleveland. So, I'm up here in Ottawa, and I tell people, I'm going to Cleveland. They're like, oh, Cleveland. Like, why are you going there? And I'm like, oh, Cleveland's a great time. And they're like, oh, I don't know. I've heard it's bad. I go, listen, have you been there? Well, no, I haven't. Oh, well, then how do you know it's bad? Is it media? Is it did you read a book? Like, what's going on here? And then as soon as I bring people to Cleveland, We get past the PA line back to Canada. As soon as we pass the PA line, people are like, man, when can I come back with you? You know, it's every time. Great sports town, great food. I'm a big craft brewery guy. I got Hoodletown Brewing on from Dover, Ohio. And
nice.
Man, oh man, I just love that city. It's a good time.
Yeah. We don't think about it much because we live here. So we take it for granted. But it really is an underrated city because we just went to New Orleans. And it was great. And I can see why it's a party town. I can see a lot of the draw for it and stuff. But there's always things about every other city you go to that make you kind of have just more and more of a appreciation for the city of Cleveland. When you come back to it.
We were there for 4 days. Yeah. I was ready to come home.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
And Cleveland, I mean, it is. It is just a nice city to be there. And like you said, especially during football season. I mean, there's nothing better than being here during football season, especially if the Browns are winning, which unfortunately they're not right now, but that's a whole other story. So, Kenny, I know you're not just a football fan now. I mean, you've turned this into something bigger, something that you have a little bit of a platform and you're able to make a difference. So tell us a little bit about your chapter up there and what you guys are getting into.
Yeah, so 19. Boy, I'm dating myself here. In 2019, I always wanted to put this together. And through goal setting at a previous job, I knew that the Browns Backers were a thing for years. And in that goal setting, we always had our personal aspirations. And my aspiration was to start my own Browns Backer crew. And in starting that, I just wanted to hang out with guys that watch the Browns, enjoy the players, maybe enjoy Cleveland because I go. And that's what I did in 2019. Now, it was kind of riding the wave of Baker Mayfield, right? So, I mean, maybe previous to that, there wouldn't have been as much draw or whatever it is. You know, you have to have the right relationship to do it too. You got to have the right partner on your side. And I have that. Like, she comes with me to Cleveland. We have a great time. So I started it up, and I literally started it up May 2019 so I could just ride that wave right in. And I've got a hilarious story for you. So I'm trying to find people. I have basically signed up at the time for a Browns backer. You only needed 5 people. Okay. So I had myself, my girlfriend, my daughter, my one of my managers at work, and then I had my buddy Stu, who's a Browns fan, right? So I had my 5 people, and I'm like wearing my Browns gear, handing out cards and that kind of stuff. Well, I'm at this festival that they have every year in Ottawa called Blues Fest, and it's not blues, it's everything. It just happens to be called Blues Fest, and you're not going to believe the concert I was at. I brought my girlfriend and my mother-in-law. And we're at the Backstreet Boys. And I'm like, man, oh man, I do not want to see this. So I go see the old school band America, right? And then I go see, I forget her name. I go see another kind of rock girl. And then I am so like destitute not to see the Backstreet Boys that I'm going to go watch the local university band go play. And it's done. So I'm like, I got no choice. I got to go see the Backstreet Boys. Well, I'm full head to toe Browns gear, hat, Baker Mayfield shirt, shorts, everything. I'm walking through and I hear Baker Mayfield. And I turn around. I'm like, do you guys like the Browns, or are you just like mocking me? Like, what's going on here? They're like, no, we went to Cleveland. We were at the game. We were at the game where that you beat the Giants and you guys got your first game win in like so in 31 games or whatever, right? And so those were my first 5. Yeah, those were my first 5 backers. So all of a sudden I was up to 10 backers. Now in our group we have about 156. We get anywhere from 10 to 30 out a game. We're at Mulligan's golf bar, so we actually get the chance to throw the games on through the golfing simulators. So you're watching the game high def on, I'd say loosely 10 by 20 screen. It's fantastic. I mean, when the Browns win, you got grass in front of you. You can actually kneel down with the team and it looks like you're kneeling down on the field. It's fantastic.
Nice.
Wow.
Well, and you should have 159 members now, because one of the things that we do every week when we interview Browns Backers clubs is we make sure we go online on Browns
you
Backers
guys
Worldwide and join.
Yeah, I'm telling you my Facebook numbers because that's at 50, right? You guys were on there. That was at 50. But I just find people are a little bit hesitant to give their names out, and I get more people in my Facebook numbers than I do my. You guys signed up for the portal, and I did get that, and thank you very much because that does help me out a little bit too.
Yep, no problem. And I know, I mean, you're involved with the Browns Backers as a whole too. I mean, not just your club, correct?
Yeah, so in 2019, I went through my first President's Summit. And for those of you guys that don't realize, if you are backed by the Cleveland Browns, there's really two things. You just support them in a positive manner. Players, whoever's on the team, anything related with the team. And then you also just positively promote your viewing parties. So you always have a place for Browns Packers across the world. And you also raise money for different charities in the area. Did this for a couple years. And once COVID's done, I went back to another President Summit. I was getting to know a lot of people at the time, and I was very active on our forum group. And I was just asked, would you be interested to be on the leadership council? I was like, yeah, I mean, I got a smaller chapter. I don't know. I kind of kicked it around a little bit. And I was driving back, and every year I always bring a buddy that's part of my crew up here in the Ottawa Browns Backers. And he's like, hey, man, you know what? He was really passionate about it. I think, I heard they asked you should at least apply, because then you'll know what you did wrong the next year. And then once you feel a little bit more easier to get in there. And so I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'll do it. So I put everything in, I put it in, and all of a sudden I was on. And I'm like, oh, well, my first year, I learned a lot. I got to meet even more people. And then I got pulled aside. They're like, hey, what do you think about being the VP? And I'm like, that's fantastic. I would love to do that. So I'm the VP this year. I'll be the president next year. And I'm just having the time of my life. Like, this has been the best ever. So I get to help plan these backer bashes. I've got to meet Vince from True Fan. It's been awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's all fantastic stuff, that you're doing with the Browns Backers worldwide. Awesome. Good on you. Kind of climbing that ladder there as far as the ranks on that leadership council. It's pretty awesome that we have the future president of the Browns Backers worldwide on our show right now. I mean, I feel like I should. Do you bow? Do you kneel? Like, what do we do here?
Yeah, you know what we do is we crush beers and have a good time. That's what we got to do. So we missed you the previous week for the Chargers game, but hey, man, it is what it is, and we all got to take care of other stuff, but we'll get together when I'm in Cleveland, and we'll have a good time, and that'll be the presidential inn. You just have to have a beer with me.
Absolutely, nice. Yeah. Unfortunately, real work gets in the way sometimes, and they call me away and make me do things. Yeah. But no, so one of the things you mentioned throughout talking about the Browns Backers is your charity work. Just curious, what kind of community service or charity work are you guys doing up there in Ottawa?
So there's 3 big initiatives for our Browns Backers crew. It was voted on by my crew that they wanted something specific to do with Ottawa, so we do the food bank. And it's a great way to kick off the year. You're basically raising money from kickoff, like the first game of the year, all the way to Thanksgiving. Now, Canadian Thanksgiving is the second weekend of October. And then what ends up happening is from October...
Wait.
Yes.
Before we go any further.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's explain this one.
Wait. How did that come about? Like, I just apologize. I'm American, and we're so self-absorbed we don't know anything about anywhere else. Ignorant, but how did what
is Canadian Thanksgiving?
So it's always the second weekend of October, and the reason is the seasons that you can cultivate crop. Basically, by the time you guys, well, I don't know with global warming now, but by the time you guys have Thanksgiving, we're covered in like 2 feet of snow. So the harvest has been long gone since that time. That's why you're basically looking between, like, you go to Texas, or let's say the Panhandle, you go all the way up to Canada where it's still livable, and you look at like the way that the seasons go, and then ours has to be earlier because there's less of a season to do anything. You know what I mean? And that's what it is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
This interview has not only been entertaining, but educational.
I feel like there's a lot of...
Yeah, as long as somebody's taking away something from it, you know what I mean? So, and then...
I feel like there's a lot about Canada I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you guys come up and watch a CFL game with me and a whole bunch of different rules. It's good times.
That's wild, too. They got a really big field. Isn't it a much bigger field? And, 12 guys or whatever it is?
Yeah, 12 guys, 110 yards.
See?
Yeah.
See, I know all about Canadian football.
It's a wider field, but I can't tell you the depth. But our end zones are 20 yards as well, not 10.
That'd be wild.
It's hard to cover.
Yeah. And then your goalposts are right on the 1 yard line.
My question is, what happens up in Canada? There's it's really big, but I feel like the parts where people live, there's very small amount. But what happens way up?
It's very uninhabited. It's a lot of trees and rock, man. And then, you would have some settlements up in Nunavut, and all the Yukon and Yellowknife and all those areas. But yeah, they're connected by roads, but it's long and winding, and there's not a lot because it's not really livable. If you ask me, you can't get stuff up there. So
it's basically like northern Alaska.
It's basically like
uninhabitable.
Yeah, it's like Alaska, and you take that and you take the size of Alaska and put it through Canada. That's all not livable space.
That's crazy.
Wow. Sorry, we got sidetracked there. Your charities.
Yeah.
We were learning.
After what we do, the second one, now I'm a cancer survivor, so I had testicular cancer when I was younger, about 12 years ago. I rang the bell. I'm out. I'm good. And for anyone that's been diagnosed, you should be fine. There's a 92% prognosis, but Movember's huge for me. That's why I'm carrying this dirty stash right now.
Looks good.
Yeah, generally what I do, I'm waving off the handlebars this way. I'm just sweeping them back what's his name? Lenny from Motorhead. Yeah, I don't know if you remember that band back in the day. But we do that. I do about $2,500 a year between friends, the Browns Backers. Now, this year's been a weird year because November, we only have 3 games and they're really close together, and the Browns aren't doing well, so I'm getting less people showing up. Now, I still get a bit of online donations as well through my Browns Backers for the raffle, but it's been a little bit slower this year amongst the inflation and everything else, which is fine. Everybody's doing their best. And then we end the year with Jumpstart program, and there's a company here in Canada called Canadian Tire, and they collect money to give kids sports stuff. And so instead of supporting maybe Toys for Tots, because I played with G.I. Joe, it didn't do me any good. Get them a hockey stick, get them a football in their hands, and get them active, And then the last game of the year, we will be doing the bug run. I do have one of my good, the first guys that I met, they're super into that. The guys I met at the Backstreet concert, Backstreet Back. All right. Those guys, they basically...
Are they here? The Backstreet Boys, are they here?
Yeah. I think I've talked too much about the Backstreet Boys in this whole episode so far. But...
You might have a relationship with the Backstreet Boys like our board man Bone has with the Jonas Brothers. That's what it's starting to sound like, yeah.
Yeah, so, side fact, the Jonas Brothers performed at the Grey Cup this year, which just happened this weekend. Funny
I bet Bone was there.
Yeah. And, so we're going to do the bug run this year. So one of those 5 guys that I met at Blues Fest. He's an immunologist doctor, and so it's a big thing for him, and he supports us big time. So we're going to be doing that this year as well.
Awesome. So what exactly is the bug run?
It just helps raise money to what is it called? Help just different diseases, basically. So we're just going to do a run in February, raise money, and that money goes to research of different diseases, basically. I'm really dumbing that one down, but yeah. No.
I mean, yeah, I was just curious where the name came from, but I think I understand it now.
That makes sense.
Yeah. No, I mean, all good stuff. And that's part of why we have this interview series, right? Is the things that the Browns Backers as a whole in the individual chapters, wherever you go across the nation, across the world, the things they're doing for their communities, as well as the Cleveland Browns organization, bringing some of it back home to them as well so that they can put it in different Cleveland charities. It's just phenomenal. Like, it's awesome.
It's funny you mentioned that the Baker Mayfield guys, maybe you thought they were mocking you at first. We've actually heard similar stories from other presidents in the past have kind of been like, I was, the first guy there and wanted to start a club and just had to fight a guy. And then we turned out to be great friends.
Yeah. It's just weird how people take information. You guys know, you're on the internet. Sometimes you'll be talking to some guy and they just go off and they're, it's like, did you have a bad day? Like, what's going on? Like, really just talking about football here, boys. You know what I mean? But I mean, as far as the Browns are concerned, man, I've always been very happy with them. They've really supported the Browns backers. They do 3-4 things a year that help you get members in. They send you packs like seasonal kits that have glasses, cups, all that kind of stuff, so you can kind of hand them out and get people in. They back up one big event a year. You just have to put it in and tell them what you're doing. They send a seasonal kit, holiday present out every year, and then they get us all together once a year, and we go to training camp, and then we go to usually a preseason game or something along that lines. The one year we didn't go to a preseason game, we went to the Hall of Fame, and we got to meet Joe Thomas, which was, one of the highlights of my life. You know what I mean? What a great man.
Very cool.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And if you're a Browns fan, I think it's evident, not only with the Browns themselves, but with our sponsors these last couple of years. We had the Browns Fan Cruise. We've got True Fan Travel. There's a lot of organizations out there that are putting together events or different things that Browns fans can attend. So just, I encourage everybody, especially when the season starts, before everything's happened, go online and Google Browns events. You'd be very surprised at what you can find. And not to mention, you guys, the Browns backers, everywhere that the Browns go, in that city you'll find a Browns backers bash that you can attend and find a whole bunch of other Browns backers or Browns fans in general that are in those cities. So,
I'd like to go to Canada and watch the game on this big golf simulator. That sounds dope.
That sounds dude, it is fantastic. The Mulligan's has fantastic food. Their chicken and waffles is amazing. We actually have
that's one of my favorite foods.
You know what? I'll have to shout out Evergreen Brewing here in Ottawa. They put together a beer for us. It's called Pound Town Lager. It has gone through all the appropriate things. So Anheuser-Busch, anybody cannot get angry about that. I don't have any NFL likeness in it. Basically has my logo on it. And we can't use Dog Pound because that's owned by the NFL. So that's why it's Pound Town Lager. And come up and have a Pound Town Lager on Kenny Mac. If you come up this way, I'll definitely hook you up. It is fantastic. It is like Coors Light with a little bit of extra hop because I'm a bit of a craft beer snob, and it's fantastic. Everybody who comes up loves it. I'm staring at one like right over there. I should have had one so I could look. Here it is, guys, but I wasn't thinking.
Go grab it right now.
You want me to seriously grab it?
Go grab it. Let's see it. I want to see it. I got to see it. Kenny Mac's like, you son of a bitch, you made me get up.
We'll time dilate it. We'll speed it up.
Yeah.
There we go. I'm back. All right.
Let's see this thing.
There's your Pound Town Lager. That's my logo right here with the dog. Ottawa. It's all the dog pound there. So let's go, baby. Pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
Nice. Yeah, no, you explained it well because Coors is the original craft brewery. Being out there and all the stuff that they did out at the Coors Brewery is awesome to learn about if you're a beer fan. But enough about beer and enough about your chapter, as fantastic as they are. Let's talk a little bit about the Browns. I mean, we are a Browns podcast after all. I guess we should talk about them at least a little bit. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on this year's version of the Cleveland Browns? I know a lot of things have gone south.
Yeah. A lot of things. What went wrong?
Yeah, a lot of things have not turned out the way we wanted it to. So can you just, and take however much time you want, because it could take a while, and let us know what you thought went wrong and what's going on.
Actually, I'm going to get back up and go get some Kleenexes. Just give me a second. No, I'm just kidding. But, I think a lot of it had to do with the fool's gold that we got with Joe Flacco last year. And this is not any kind of disparaging comments towards Joe. He did fantastic. But what we needed to understand last year is Kevin Stefanski works best with a big arm quarterback that runs a play action pass style offense with his back to the defense. And crisp, good play actions, reads and goes. We get into the Bengals game, and the Bengals game last year. So let me go back. We clinch against the Jets last year, and then we sit everybody for the Bengals game. Had we not sat everybody, we'd still be a little bit of fool's gold. But I think what we learned that game is that we weren't as deep as we thought we were. We just passed it off as they played their starters. They wanted it more. That was a big sign that we weren't ready to be where we needed to be next year. Then what made that even worse, and we all still kind of ignored it, is we got blown out bad in that Texas playoff game. We looked awful. And guess what we've looked like every game till now, except the Ravens. Even the preseason, except for Seattle. We have looked that bad. Something happened. I don't know if it was in the Bengals game or that playoff game. This team went for a shit dive, and it's never come back. And we went through the offseason, and our key part of our offense, Amari Cooper, there's signs that he's going to be traded. And then this big to-do about some guys interviewing him saying he wanted to get out, but that's not what he really meant. Amari Cooper never practiced. He never did anything. He looked like he was going to be traded all year, but he was a key piece of our offense. So what are we doing? How are we not replacing this guy, right? And then there was just little rumblings from everybody through the whole offseason, everything. The offensive line isn't good. The offensive line isn't good. But we just kept pushing it off. And I know I did. I contribute to another podcast. I do Throwback Thursdays. I did a whole piece on Ken Dorsey and what he would do for Deshaun Watson. But with the vibes that Tony Grossi thought was weird coming out of the Bria 2 weeks ago when he put that out, those weird vibes have been since the Bengals game. And nobody has said anything about it. Everybody, including me, thought this is going to be good. Dorsey's going to get Deshaun out of his funk. And it makes sense. He did it with Cam Newton. He did it with Josh Allen. He does a high tempo, rhythmic passing. That's why you see a lot of these passes to the flats, the passes to Njoku. You're supposed to run people over and get first downs. It's not happening. The guys don't get it. They can't run a route tree for whatever reason. Some of them are young. Judy, Elijah Moore, maybe they've never had to do this before. So there's all these growing pains, right? Deshaun, on the flip side, broke the coxal bone in his shoulder. But the other thing is he just didn't play. And when he didn't play, he's also got 2 leg injuries. Now he's got another leg injury. He's at Father Time's starting to catch up with him. He can't outrun linebackers anymore, and he's super frustrated, and it doesn't look like he can read a defense. And then what the preseason should have showed you, and we didn't catch on to it, is the team was already frustrated then, and they laid an egg against the Dallas Cowboys. And I was like, okay, whatever. Then we played Jacksonville and won, and we were 1-1, I believe. And then after that, we played the Giants. And after the Giants, I'm like, man, we are not a good team. We are not a good team. But every week I build myself up like every Browns fan, say, oh, we're going to win. Like I'm going to tell you we're going to win tomorrow. You know what I mean? And, but we are not deep. We are not a deep team. And it's just the revelations that in listening to everybody, going on podcasts, and we're just not as good as we thought we were. There is something to be said, though. I'm not saying we're not talented. Our defense is still good. I think we have some talent from what we've seen between the quarterback and the receivers. but it's our offensive line just declined so rapidly. And the guys on the defense are having a tough time, like, matching that, matching the intensity they need to do to pitch 10-point games every game, right? Because we can only score 16. So I would say, they got to suck it up, because I've read a lot online, and you guys have probably heard this too. Well, we better tank for a number one pick. Well, guess what, boys? We've been doing that since '99. It hasn't worked. And I got two other franchises in this division that don't do that, and they pick wherever they fall. And guess what? They're right above us. They just beat the shit out of each other last week. And thank God they did, because we get one of the two that got the shit beat out of them, So hopefully we can jump on that.
On a short week too. I mean, if you're talking about looking for ways that the Browns win the game, you get them on a short week. So
yeah. So that's a feather in our cap.
Yeah.
But
so I feel like I just relived like the last basically 11 months of my life, and it feels really bad.
Feels bad.
Yeah.
but I think there's a lot of insight there. I guess my question to you then is, how do you fix it? I mean, I think at 2-8 or wherever we're at, I mean, it's like everything's on the table, from cleaning house entirely to, do they elevate Vrabel? Do they hang on to Perry? Do they get rid of everyone? Do we need just a new influx? I mean, you got one of the oldest and most expensive offenses in the NFL. And some of that money's not going anywhere, obviously, with the Deshaun contract. So, like, how do you fix it? Like, how do we go into next year with our head and chin up, thinking this is going to get better?
I think one of the things that you really got to look at, I think you got to take Vrabel and you got to put him aside. Vrabel is a well-respected coach. He's not going to do any interim stuff. Like, you're basically going to roll this team out and say, I don't think Vrabel can come in and make this what is it, 7 games left, win 7 in a row. I don't think he can go 5-2 with this team. Stefanski and Barry are married to Deshaun Watson, if it was their choice or not. And they got to see that contract through, because we're just going to get duds for 2 years if they don't, right? Who's going to want to come here? Like, I mean, if pie in the sky, and Blake says this all the time, you want to get Johnson from the Lions, he ain't coming here. Nobody wants to deal with Deshaun. The only guy that believes in Deshaun right now is Josh Cribbs. I don't know if you know what he said, but he's like, he's going to be the next Russell Wilson. I don't buy that for an instant, because I don't think Russell's been as beat up as Deshaun. So how do you win? I mean, hell, Winston just threw for 400 freaking yards. When's the last time we saw that? We saw Josh McNown do that? Like, that, it's been forever. Maybe there's something there, but a number one receiver that can, like, blow the top off, which I'm sure you've been banging your drums for 4 years. I've been banging my drums for 4 years. That's a big way to do it, right? The Nick Chubb thing, I just don't know where he is and how he's going to be at 28. I know I don't recover from workouts at almost 50. You know what I mean? Like I used to. I couldn't imagine being an NFL player and having all the surgery he had. I don't think you have to fix much on the defense. Special teams, Bubba Vatrone's proven that he's could put a good team together. I think, again, it's been said numerous of times on other podcasts I've been on. The problem with the special teams, other than Dustin Hopkins, is that we have shit for depth. And that's what it's proving, right? So if we don't have to switch up much on the defense, maybe a couple defensive linemen and a safety, right? You still have some key pieces there. You can get a blow off the top receiver, because I'm okay.
Yeah,
with
we got to get rid of Juan Thornhill like yesterday. So
yeah, Jog Thornhill. That was pretty special. I want to get that T-shirt.
Don't even get me started. That's for another segment in this show.
Yeah. But I mean, if you can have DeJuan, Zinter becomes something, and then you keep Bitonio, then you got to replace 2 to 3 pieces have to be replaced on the offensive line. That's the biggest. You need some big mash out maulers that can compete in the AFC North. And that's one thing that I do believe that Vrabel could find. But I think Stefanski's got roped into a quarterback that doesn't seem like, I think we all know by this time that it's not the type of quarterback that he needs. So whether it's drafting one, which seems like a crapshoot, offensive linemen are the easiest to make the team, so I think that's where you would put your resources, and you just get either Jameis for a year and then try and find something, or I would take Derek Carr if he's available. He looked great against us, and he's got that deep touch. So that's what you do. You fix up the quarterback, but you fix him up with a good offensive line and maybe a fast receiver, and I think you're a decent team, even if you keep the rest of the pieces, maybe a little bit more depth. So that was long-winded, but that's my answer.
Oh, fair enough.
No, I mean, I'm just digesting all of it right now. It's, I mean, you make some good points. And one of the things that kind of stood out to me is how you don't have to do a ton with the defense. And I actually agree with you. As poorly as the defense seems to have played this season, I think a lot of it just comes down to the simple fact that the offense can't score. So they go into every single game knowing, like, if we're going to win this game, it's going to be on us. We're not going to get any help. We need to do it ourselves. And, I mean, that weighs on you as a player, I'm sure, as far as getting motivated to actually play the game. So,
dude,
I think that's a huge reason why they're not – why. Go ahead.
Oh, I said I played high school football, and my team was pretty good. But when the offense kept going 3 and out, and we were putting 3 and outs, like after a while, you start breaking a little bit because you get frustrated at your team. You're getting frustrated on the field. You're like, when are these guys going to do it? Because, I mean, especially if you play like 3 games in a row and you're pitching 3 and outs all the time, then you're hit up a team, and all of a sudden, like, you went one long all the way down the field, and you're like, oh, you get off, sit down. Then you're coming back on again, and it's another 3 and out. You're like, oh, man, I got to go back out there. And you're playing special teams. And you know what I mean? Like, it's...
Hell, 3 games in a row. We're talking about 10 games in a row now. So, yeah. I mean, it's been all on the defense all year long, and they just haven't. I mean, it's really hard to get up for that every time. And I think that's why Jim Schwartz, it seems like he's not getting as much out of them this year as he did last year. Kenny looks like he's got something to say about all that.
No, I just I want to be respectful of Kenny's time too, because this has been a really good conversation. We'll probably just have to have him back, but I guess so. Do you still have confidence that Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Barry are the front office duo to kind of get this thing done?
That's a funny question, because my confidence in Barry is waning a bit. I'm okay with Stefanski as a play caller. I don't think he's lost the locker room, because, I mean, we're 2-8, and other than Miles calling out his own defensive players, there hasn't been much. Like, guys aren't complaining yet. Okay. The only problem that I have is that we're in the AFC North, and I can think about losses that we've had under Stefanski's tenure, and the Patriots come to mind. A loss to the Raiders when John Gruden was a coach comes to mind. There was another one that was like, there was another one like that. Oh, against the Saints. We lost to the Saints again at home in that really cold game. There are some times in the NFL, because of weather or other circumstances, maybe you lose all your receivers or whatever it is to COVID. Remember that one? That's another one, the Jets, where you just got to get your offensive line, and you just got to whack the running back through that. And you just got to keep going and going and going. And you got to win 8-10. And a lot of times it's defensive coaches that'll win those games, right? Like Dennis Allen beat us last year or 2 years ago in that cold ass game, right? And offensive guys like Stefanski don't get that. They're still like trying these fancy passes, or, say the wind's gusting like 55 miles an hour or something wild like that. It's just buckle
double
down.
Reverse.
Buckle. Yeah. Don't even do a reverse. Like, don't even do it. Just like quarterback draw, fumble Ruski, like none of that. Just take the fullback, take the running back. Well, we don't have a fullback, but you know what I mean. And just, make someone the fullback for that game. Make Boogie Watson the fullback. I don't care. Just hit people until you have more first downs and field goals than the other team and win those games. And we don't do that. and that's what I need to see from Stefanski to be even more on his side. But I am a Stefanski fan.
Well, you're about as big a fan as you'll get because he's never going to do that. So,
yeah.
But I mean, with that being said, these are all awesome talk. This whole thing has been awesome, Kenny. You're very insightful. It's clear that you're passionate about the team and you think these things through. I do want to get onto this week's game, though. I mean, we're sitting at like 40 minutes with you. You're just, we're talking it up. You're basically half our show this week, which I don't mind, whatever. But no, so the Steelers. We got the Steelers this week. Thursday night game, short week for them. Talk us through how you think this game is going to go, and then finish it up with a score prediction at the end.
Yeah, so this is a tough one. So the first thing I've already kind of let you know, I mean, even in the last 10 years, let's say, guys, we've always had one Thursday night game, and we always play well. We always cover. We usually win. We're like, 10-2 or some wild stat. The Browns will show up against the Steelers. There's animosity because of the JJ Watt comments. TJ Watt comments. And the defense is going to be up for it. Even Jog Thornhill, he might be lightly running Thornhill at this point, because he'll be so into it.
Brisk jog.
Right? Yeah. Brisk jog, yeah. And so the defense is going to be there. The other thing with the Steelers, I mean, like, their record's great. They didn't score a touchdown against the Ravens. We dropped 27 or 29 on them, and so we're not going to run on them, I don't think, with our offensive line. Like, their defensive line will have a hard time controlling that, the line of scrimmage, okay? On the other side, they could too, and it might be just another game like the Ravens and the Steelers last week. It's just that we're not as beat up because clearly the defense didn't show or give a damn last week because they had the worst effort. For a team that came off a 2-week holiday and gave the effort that they gave in that game was awful. The only guy that was up for it was Jameis, and the other guy that was up for it was Taysom Hill, and he had way more spirit than the entire Browns defense. That being said, when you are embarrassed like that, because when Taysom Hill was 268 or 248 or whatever the damn yardage was, when he puts that on you, you are embarrassed, and you will show up and you will play the next week. Because if you don't, you've lost the locker room, and good luck winning another game. That being said, I haven't looked at the injury report, and I would base a little bit off the injury report. But who is not playing this week? They're missing a big player. Do you guys know?
On our side?
No, Steelers.
Steelers side.
Oh, well, it doesn't matter. But my thing is, if we win this, like, we don't even score 17 points a game. And the score, I don't even think the Steelers let 17 points a game. So if we win, it's going to be like 13-10. And Dustin Hopkins is going to have to hit every single field goal that comes his way. I hope they're at the stadium. They literally got off the plane, and he's sleeping there like Baker Mayfield used to for his commercials. And he's just getting out there and booting and booting and booting. And he's got his finger up, and he knows where that wind is, and that ball is going through those uprights.
I hope you're right, but anytime last year I would have said yes. I'll rely on Dustin Hopkins all day.
That was hard to watch.
Anymore, watching that in person this past week, and it wasn't like he missed him a little bit. Like they looked bad.
Well, what was worrisome was he was missing them in practice when they came out before the game and at halftime when we're watching him do warm-ups. He was missing kicks and warm-ups, and that worried me a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Obviously, we didn't get to see that, but I mean, if that's the case, then there's got to be some kind of injury there. Then, if he's overcompensating and pushing the same way every single time, the only other thing it could be is like Rex O'Hara or however you say his name, the long snapper and the holder are not on the same page. Bohorquez.
Well, yeah, I've been saying that for weeks that the Hewlett injury was a bigger injury than people gave it credit for, just because that guy had played in a bazillion straight games. I mean, there was a pretty well defined unit.
You're talking about Alex Highsmith, by the way. It looks like he's out with an ankle injury.
Alex Highsmith. So that's a feather in our cap as well, right? So they have Herbig that's coming in, and now we got a more tape on Herbig. So let's see what we can do to a rookie. I actually, he was high on my list. I don't know if he was high on your list when he was coming out of college, but I did like him.
Yeah, I mean, he's a solid player. So, but like you said, let's see what we can do to exploit that on our end. But yeah, I mean, it scares. Like I said, just back to Dustin Hopkins, it just scares me when you say a lot of the game's going to rely on him. It just terrifying.
I know. Like I said, we're up against time here with you, Kenny. But real quick question: I just was curious if you're seeing a mass immigration influx of U.S. celebrities coming across the border.
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, the one thing about Canada is they're super socialistic. The taxes I got to pay here is unreal. They'll literally come here, live here for a week, and they'll pay taxes for a week. They'll say, "See you later, Canada. I'm going back." And people feel the same way about Trump up here. And some people are saying, I'm not going. I've been in and out of the States. I don't care who the president is. I just go have a good time, man. And that's what everybody wants to have down there, too. It's nothing's going to change. It's going to be fine.
Yeah, we don't get too political on this show. It was just funny because there were so many, like every celebrity on the planet.
Oh, I know. Hey,
Trump wins. We're moving to Canada.
Yeah, we'll take their tax dollars, man. We'll take their tax dollars.
I think you hit on a good point, though. The bottom line is we all just want to have a good time.
That's right.
That's what we're here for.
100%, man.
But no, Kenny, so what was, one more time, what was your final score that you said? I didn't catch it.
Browns win 13-10. Just like last year. 13-10. Yeah, just like last year.
13-10. Which I feel bad for Thursday Night Football because outside of the Ravens Bengals game, which was phenomenal, I watched that in Cincinnati. I happen to be in Cincinnati for that, but not that I like either of those two teams. They both suck ass, but
I hear you.
But it was a good game. Outside of that, there hasn't been really a lot of good Thursday Night Football games ever since Amazon took over.
No, man. So they've been pretty rough.
Yeah. So, I mean, at least it might be exciting that it's close, but it sounds like it's going to be another stinker.
I'll take a win if I can get a win.
But no, yeah, I hope you're right, Kenny, because, any way that the Browns can get a win, I'm in. Sign me up.
Hey, man, I just need to see wins. I'm getting older, man. I've seen enough losing to last a lifetime. Just win, baby. Just win. Cordell Davis. Yeah. Let's go.
Absolutely. And so, Kenny, listen, it's been great having you on. Again, we wish we could continue talking with you. Our Kenny's pissed right now because he's going to be editing tomorrow, and our show's going to be like 6 hours long.
Well, I'm pissed because I got way more questions for Kenny. I'd like to keep talking.
Yeah.
I know we got to.
Kenny, I know you're a regular on another podcast. Do you need to join this one as well? So
yeah. Hey, man, whenever you guys want me on, I always come on. You guys support the Browns backers, and obviously, with the position I'm in, I'm always here to help out anybody that supports us. You guys are doing a great job, and we really appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll be welcome back anytime. I'm sure I'll be in touch in the coming weeks to see when we get you back on the show.
Yeah, for sure, man.
All right. Thanks, Kenny.
Right on. Yo, guys, it is Kenny Mack, and I am the president of the Ottawa Browns Backers. And I had a blast on this show, and you are listening to the Burning River Sportscast. Let's go.